This is not necessarily the most important issue. It's just the first issue. It's the issue that if we don't resolve, we're not going to be able to resolve any of the other issues either.
Lawrence Lessig is a Harvard law professor whose impressive resume includes being a TED speaker, an advisor for Bernie Sanders, and even trying for a run at the presidency in 2016 under the Democratic Party, where he ran with the topic of fundamental corruption in our government as his leading issue.
The simplest way to understand what's wrong with our system is to see how it denies citizens a basic promise of representative democracy, and that is their equal standing as citizens. We do it a lot of ways. We do it, in the way we fund campaigns, which, creates about 50,000 Americans who are the important Americans, and the rest of America who's second class. We do it in the way we gerrymander districts, which takes 89 million Americans, basically says to them, you don't matter to the representative because you're in the minority party in a district which has a safe seat majority held by either Republicans or Democrats. We do it by making it hard for certain classes of people to vote.
It's funny that Mr. Lessig mentioned these two factors as reasons for the skewed system, because we also agree. As far as these two things go, tons of subtopics fall under them. For the funding of campaigns, you could talk about lobbying, where the politicians themselves focus their fundraising, and even evil business owners wanted to take over the world. And for voting injustices, there's gerrymandering, discrimination, and laws in general that prohibit people from voting. Now, don't worry, we'll get to all of these things, but it's going to take some time because these are not easy things to discuss. Let me introduce you to some friends. On the left, we have your average Joe and your average Jane. To the right of them is a big business fat cat. And in the middle is just your generic politician. As watered down as this is an election. Average Jane and Joes will try to cast votes and lobby in support of campaigns and political moves that they believe in, but many of their words and votes will fall on deaf ears, if they're even able to get to the voting booths and the offices of the representatives in the first place. The big business fat cat, on the other hand, will use his money as a megaphone, which, in return, will be used as a tool to help fund this politician's campaign. It's the fat cat's hopes that there is some type of return on his end when all is said and done. So now, thanks to the financing from the big business fat cat, the politician has been elected to office. In reality, though, just because the big money fat cat wasn't on the ballot doesn't mean that he also wasn't elected to office himself. And now that they are both basically in office, it's time for the big business fat cat to get his end of the deal. In essence, it's his megaphone money that will make the elected politician turn out policies, laws, and a whole slew of other things the big business fat cat can benefit from on behalf of the government. So now that the big money fat cat has had his hand in the pocket of the politician for the entirety of his candidacy, nearly all the actions have been in favor of this fat cat. This includes the endorsement of the voting injustices that kept the majority of the population, the average Jane and Joes, from having a say. These 4 points follow each other, but not in the sense that a traditional list or sequence would. Rather, these 4 points are part of a perpetual cycle. Each point within this cycle feeds and supports the one ahead of it. At the center of the cycle is the results of the skewed system. A flawed education system, job opportunities, justice system, and social services. Due to their current states, thanks to the policies in place, they also perpetuate this cycle and promote wealth inequality in the United States of America.